Brock deserves all the credit. He's such a freak, man. People don't realize, like, you want to talk about a guy getting pushed fast? You know, you're watching two nerds fight it out, and then they've never been high competition, ever. And my family was really mad at Joe. Really, man. I told Joe this. Like, my dad was pissed. My brother was pissed at him for that. Like, you see, you know, it's a little embarrassing. Like, he lost his last fight to Tommy Fury. Now he's fighting Nate Diaz. That's insane, dude. It's Hollywood, man.
It is Hollywood.
And you're like, this is the area where it goes down to. That's why when you sent me the address, I looked this morning. I was like, oh, okay. By Capitol Records, okay.
It's
head on a swivel. Don't wear the Rolex. You know?
It's funny that like Hollywood and Highland is kind of like everyone points to that and they're like, yeah, like that's Hollywood. That's the core of Hollywood. That's where like Spider-Man's walking around.
Correct.
Then you go just a block or two east of that and you're like, ooh, yeah, that's also Hollywood?
Yeah, you're in the Purge. You go a block, you're down the Purge. And it's just, what I feel bad is for people that, like, you know, with family stuff, like, let's go to Hollywood.
Yes.
And they get here and they're like, is that guy pissing on the street? Like, yeah, he is. Yeah, but there's Spider-Man. You're like, oh, okay. Now check out Hulk. Yeah, I see Hulk. There's also a guy shitting on the streets. Like, yeah, welcome to Hollywood.
There's Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, there's Jack Sparrow. Is that Johnny Depp? No, far from it. But there's a guy in a tent though with his wiener out. You know, like that's Hollywood in a nutshell.
I tell people like, go to Hollywood and Highland, park at Hollywood and Highland, and don't leave Hollywood and Highland.
Yeah.
But I want to see the Hollywood sign. You can see it from there.
You can see it from there.
You can see it.
You've seen it. Have you seen pictures? That's good enough.
You're
not going to get a better view than the pictures.
Although that one hike, you know, the one hike where you're like standing right next to
that's fun.
It's a great hike.
That's good.
The people who live in that neighborhood must just hate tourists.
Oh my God. There's that. And then, you know, Hollywood's, it's dicey, man. I live probably 40 minutes in the sticks from here. But then when in the stick, we call it the stick. I mean, it's not like, you know, Milwaukee sticks when you're outside
like
Milwaukee.
40 minutes where the rich people live.
I
live
guess.
next to the Kardashians. Don't the Kardashians live up there?
Yeah. There's keeping up with the Joneses, then there's keeping up with the Kardashians. Yeah. It's a nightmare. But out there, it's different, man. There's air, there's land, you know, there's not all the crazy people. But then I have to work down here all the time at night, you know, when I do stand-up. So, you know, this is where all the stand-up's at. So I have to come in here, you know. So it's just a weird world, man. It wasn't always like this.
No, it's weird how any of the main streets, the people that have never even been to Hollywood know, like Sunset, like a lot of the clubs are on Sunset, the comedy club.
Sunset, you got Laugh Factory, you got the Comedy Store there, and then Melrose, you have Hollywood Improv.
Yeah, and these are all like the famous streets that people know about, and like, yeah, it's great in that tiny little stretch.
But get outside there, have your head on a swivel. Yeah.
I feel for people that move to Hollywood chasing that Hollywood dream. Because a lot of people that move from the Midwest or whatever, or move from, you name whatever state, Nebraska or whatever, they get out here and they're like, man, I live in Hollywood now. Like, all my friends back home think I'm awesome because I live in Hollywood. And then they don't ever, like, put the work in.
Yeah, but I think now it's like the show business has kind of taken a hit. The lore's not there anymore because of social media, because of YouTube, because of TikTok and all this stuff, where you can be, you know, in the middle of, you know, Thornton, Colorado, and you can be a star making money off your talent. So you don't have to just turn whatever 18 or 21, go, I'm gonna become a star, I'm going to Hollywood. It's like, or you just get really creative, get a good editor, maybe teach yourself how to do it, and make more money owning all your stuff and do it out of your mom's bedroom. Like, there's that opportunity now.
Like, look at Mr. Beast. I think he's in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So it's like he could have, like a lot of people, like got a little bit of fame and then moved out here and had more connections, or you just stay there and people can come to you.
Do your own thing. I mean, yeah, you can do your own thing. It's tricky too. It's also like in Hollywood, like, especially with the cancel culture, it's like you can go that route, but you say one wrong thing or you get political, like your career's done, man, and they decide. But if you're owning all your own other stuff and doing your own thing, it's going to be tough for those people to come after you.
When did you have the foresight to know, I can't fight forever, and there's some other stuff that's starting to happen over here. Maybe if I leaned into that a little bit more, I could have some longevity.
Man, that's a good question. It's rare I do other people's pods, so I have to go back into the Rolodex because I do so many goddamn shows.
You do. How many pods do you have?
I have 97 podcasts.
Yeah, that's correct.
No,
yes.
So I have Thick Boy Network with the Shop Show, Food Truck Diaries, One on One, Cowbass Fight Companion, And then I have Fire and the Kid, which has been around 12 years with Bryan Callen.
Crazy.
And I have the Golden Hour, which was formerly King of the Sting with Theo Von. That's me, Chris D'Elia, and Eric Griffin. So 6 shows. And then any given week, I have minimum 6 shows. And then depending if there's a big guest in town or a big UFC fight, then I have 8 shows for that week. And then stand up at night. And then full-time dad. So it's a lot. And I probably have 2 years before I die. But in regards to your question, I moved to LA about 13 years ago. And
Still fighting at the time.
I was still fighting. I actually came out here because I was in Denver and I was in the UFC, probably ranked top 10 in the heavyweight division at the time in the UFC. And I was coming off 2 losses. And I mean, how detailed do you want me to get? Like, is your fan base familiar with fighting? Like,
of course. Yes.
So I was with this team called. It started off as TKO. It started off with really 3 guys: Nate Marquardt, Shane Carwin, and myself. And it was a small team. And then Nate was already a legend, but he was like the team captain of me and some of the smaller guys. And then Shane Carwin had 2 fights at the time.
And also, everyone will remember him fighting Brock Lesnar.
Shane fought Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Shane beat Frank Mir to become the UFC heavyweight interim champion.
Yeah.
But that was my main training partner, my brother. And I didn't have money at the time, so Shane would pay for all my training. He was the best. And Shane got really famous. I got an Ultimate Fighter, and it was the biggest season ever with Kimbo Slice. I like to think it was because I was on the show. Definitely wasn't, but it was Kimbo Slice and Roy Nelson. So I'm in the UFC, and I'm top 10. Shane's the champion of the world. Nate's doing his thing. GSP's coming down. We have Rashad Evans is there. Wonderboy Thompson. Stipe's there. Became heavyweight champion. This is when he was even in the UFC. So you have this whole team, and I realized the team was getting famous, which is a curse. The team's getting famous, and I realized the team stopped being a team, and it started to be individuals. And I would need attention because I had a big fight coming up, but this guy had a big fight coming up, and so it just stopped becoming like this team thing. And I was coming off a loss. I'm like, this isn't good, dude. You got to make a change and go somewhere where you're getting the attention you need. And I grew up in Venice Beach in the summers as a kid. My uncle had a house there. My dad would always either drive out here during the summers or we'd fly out here. So I grew up in Venice Beach, and California always spoke to me. Like, I always knew this is where I should be. So I was just like, I need to change. And I didn't want to hurt everybody's feelings. I hate confrontation when it comes to that stuff. So I was like, I'm just going to go out there for training for a month and I'll be back. But my family didn't know that, and I sold all my stuff and literally was just moving out there full time.
Man.
So I did that. And then I met Bryan Callen, who's a comedian actor. And I was training at the time, and Bryan left UFC. And he was doing a podcast shoot. This is like 14 years ago. He was doing a podcast called The Bryan Callen Show. It had 7 listeners. And then me and him were... we just hit it off. Like, we're instant, like, friends. There's this weird chemistry. And he called me when I left. He's like, oh, you're great, man. We should do a show every week. I'm like, dude, I don't have time for this bullshit. And he's like, no, you and I. And I was like, I don't want to just talk about fighting, man. Like, that's not what I like to do. He's like, no, we can talk about whatever you want. Fashion. I know you like fashion, cars, whatever you want to talk about. And I was like, if I can be silly, I'm down. He's like, all right, once a week. So we started doing that. And that was before everyone, their gay stepdad had a podcast in their basement. That was like back in the day, man. So we started to do that. And I remember us fighting Andrei Arlovski at UFC 1, I forget what number it was, in Vancouver. I beat him in a split decision, but the judges fucked me, so that's whatever. But I remember I was walking through the airport, and there was like billboards of me in Vancouver, and I was on TV on commercials. I'm walking through the airport, and the TSA and fans would like throw out things like from the podcast, me doing something silly. I'm like, that's weird. And then as I'm going through TSA, the guy's like, dude, such a big fan of mine. If I get a picture, I'm like, yeah, man. And he goes, what are you doing in Vancouver? And I was like, what? So what are you doing in Vancouver? I'm like, do you not see the billboards or nothing? He's like, no, what are you doing here, man? You doing stand-up? And I was like, no, dude, I'm fighting Andrei Arlovski. He's like, oh, damn, I had no idea. I'm like, oh, interesting. People are starting to recognize me for being silly, for being myself, which I always relate to more, because when I was a kid, the goal was to be on Saturday Night Live. That was always the number one goal. So to me, that was like, oh, this is the recognition I need, man. And then I continued to fight, and then podcasting started to gain some legs. And I had signed a deal with Fox Sports. We're their first podcast ever. And then we started to get some checks for the advertising. They were really, no one was really doing podcasts on YouTube. So it was just checks from straight up audio advertising. I remember I got the check for that, and then I got the check for getting punched in the face. And I was like, oh, dude, what are we doing here? Like, to focus on this, man.
Sure.
You know, focus. And then my girlfriend at the time, now wife, was pregnant with our first kid. So it was like this whole kind of like, whether you believe in God, it was like, go over here, you idiot.
Yeah.
You know? So it was just like this weird transition, which I always wanted in my heart. You know, I'm not a natural born fighter. I have a fighter's heart, but it was terrifying, man.
It's
and I knew it's a short road. Like I knew, like no matter how good you are, like this movie ends with you face down, ass up, man. Yeah. Everybody. Mm-hmm. So it's like, can you do this, what you've wanted to do since you were a child, or are you gonna keep doing this and getting punched in the face, man?
There's lots more to get to during this conversation with Brendan, but a big thank you to Ketone IQ for sponsoring this video. What is Ketone IQ? This is brain fuel. It's a clean boost of energy without the sugar and without the caffeine, and one shot has me feeling clear and ready to take on anything. And I love that it's a shot too, because I don't know about you, but when I'm looking for a little boost of energy, when I'm trying to get through that lull in the afternoon, it's not like I'm thirsty because I'm drinking water all the time. It's not like I want a big can of something. I just want a little bit of boost of energy to get me going. And that's exactly what you get here with Ketone IQ. The best thing about Ketone IQ is it's a smooth energy without the ups and downs and crashes that you can sometimes get with other products. And I just feel like ultra focused after I take one of these. Also, by the way, this doubles as a great pre-workout. 1 or 2 of these before a big leg day or a big chest day, and you get after it, my friend. So when you're low on fuel, Ketone IQ is your secret weapon. You can find Ketone IQ at hvmn.com. Use the promo code CVV. You'll get 20% off your order there. So that's hvmn.com. The promo code is CVV.
It's also interesting, like we're sitting here in this studio, there's 3 of us sitting here. It's hard because you're doing this in a vacuum. When you're doing UFC, you're seeing everybody, you're hearing the roar of the crowd, it's on TV, you're able to like feel the impact that has immediately. Whereas this, you can see the numbers on YouTube or you can see the downloads on podcasts, but you're like, yeah, but I can't see their faces, I can't hear them. So I can totally relate with what you're saying in Vancouver.
Yeah, it's also like when you watch the UFC, don't get me wrong, there's some authentic guys like Nate Diaz, the Diaz brothers, like Cain Velasquez, there's a lot of guys. But then also like I'm too nice of a guy where it's like the UFC would use me for marketing, stuff like that, and being silly, which I always gravitated towards the camera, and so they recognize that and would push me in further. But it's like no one wants to hear me talk about how much I respect the guy I'm going to fight. So it became this almost character, so you're this cocky character. Well, some people have a hard time taking that version of me to where I'm at now. Mm. They're like, oh, he's cocky. It's like, nah, man, that's me dealing with the nerves of being terrified to fight, you know, Andrei Arlovski or Ben Rothwell or Nogueira or CroCop or Gonzaga. Like, I was terrified, man, but that's me almost convincing myself that I can do this. Yeah. Like, no, he's cocky. It's like, no, that's a character, man. It's no different. Do you think The Undertaker really sleeps in a coffin, you dumbasses?
What?
Yeah, you're like, what the no. Yeah, what?
So the goal was to be on SNL. It wasn't the NFL?
No. It was a combination because it was a blessing and curse because my mom would make me watch, not make me, but always would sit down whenever Saturday Night Live was on every Saturday night. So that was like the tradition. So it's like the Farleys, the Adam Sandlers, you know, the Chris Rocks, the Kevin Nealons, like those were the guys. Yeah. And I just loved it. I loved it. Like, so it held such a special place in my heart. But then I was also and I was funny. I was always funny. My mom's like, I'm telling you, you're going to be a star. You're going to be an actor, you're going to do stand-up. And my mom would play Robin Williams on the TV. So that I grew up with that. But then also I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood in Aurora, Colorado. So the way to get attention was being good at sports. Well, I happened to be pretty good in sports. I was really athletic, especially for being one of the only white kids amongst all black kids. So the way I'd get attention is by being good at sports. So it was like a double-edged sword because I wouldn't trade my career for anything. Like all the experiences led me to where I'm at now. It gives me perspective to, you know, write jokes and do stuff different than any other comedian. But also it was a weird road because it delayed I don't know. It's hard to say. It's like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, but the way I took to get here, it took a little longer. But then, football was a way for me to get attention and get out and be around certain people. And, in the locker room, I was that silly dude. So I had an audience all the time in the locker room. So, I never look back in history or in my past and go, I wish I would have done this. Never. Like, everything's led me to this. My road's completely different than any comic that's ever existed, and I'll take it, man.
And I feel like because of that, people are like, well, you got your start because of all these other people. You hear that all the time, I'm sure.
All the time, yeah. All the time. But it's always been, and that's their own issues. That's their own insecurities. So it's like, when I was a football player and then decided to do UFC, it was like, oh, he's just a football player. And then you get to the top 10, they're like, okay, well, he's not bad, but then you still have the haters. And then when you leave that and you go into podcasts, and like, yeah, but he's a meathead. That doesn't work, right? Because you hear me talk for how many hours a week? So then it went from that, and then I go into stand-up. It's like, he's just a meathead fighter. I've been headlined for almost 9 years now. So it's like, how long can you run with that narrative? But to me, it's there's fans who you do it for, and fuck everybody else, and that's all I care about. And the rest of the naysayers, like, you're never going to win them over, man. That's their own insecurities, because who knows, man? I feel bad for them. It's like they probably had dreams and aspirations. Dude, I don't stop. So it has to be triggering, because I'll go from this lane to that lane to this lane when you didn't even jump in the pool, man. So it has to be, and I get it. 100% I get it. And when you sign up for this, like, good or bad, you're going to get people that love you and get people that hate you. It's just the business we're in. It's the way it goes. The issue you have is if nobody has an opinion on you. That's when you're not doing anything right.
Yeah.
You're going to say some things that piss a lot of people off, some things people love. That when you're in the middle, like, I don't really care. They're sure as hell not buying a ticket to watch you do stand-up.
Yeah.
Like, you want to be a little bit polarizing. And I don't even mean to. It's just the way it is.
You were also recognizable enough from UFC that when you started doing comedy, people were going to know it was you. People were going to take videos, whether
That's
you
a
were...
curse.
Right. Even if you were at a comedy club on an open mic night, you weren't announced, and it's in a city that, isn't known for comedy, somebody in there is going to go, I watched that guy
Yeah,
fight
I hated
whoever.
that. Yeah, I hated that. And it's taken and I think when I first got into stand-up, I was like kind of rejecting my fighting history, where I'd like, people would bring it up, I'd like shy away. But over the years, I think having kids and realizing how cool that experience was, it's got me out of that shell. And it's like, no, that's dope, man.
Have your kids seen you fight?
Yes. Not in person. They've seen
Sure.
they've seen the highlights.
What's the first fight you showed your kids? I would hope a victory.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They've seen it all, though. Because I want to show them the good and bad. Like, this isn't all, glitters and unicorns, man. Like, this is a dark world. They probably watched the CroCop fight, because it's I don't want to show them a quick knockout. I want to show them, like, the ups and downs. Like, that fight was up and down,
That guy's a legend.
Yeah, he was a monster.
Yeah. Like, when you look at your resume, I mean, you fought some killers.
Absolute killers. And I look back on it, I'm like, what the hell was I doing, man? Also, where was my management? Like, why would you guys, I had, like when I fought Gabriel Gonzaga, I had 6 fights, you son of a bitch. Thank God I beat that guy, or, fighting CroCop, or, they offered me the Nogueira fight in America, and I was like, no, I want to do this in Brazil. Like, how is my team not like, hey, chill, dude, chill, let's slow down. It's a marathon, not a sprint. But everyone just believed in me so much, and I believed in myself, and that's what you need. But you need a team around you to go, slow down. In business, too. You need that team.
But when they give you Gonzaga, do you go, yeah, of course I can beat him. I believe in myself.
Oh, I was like, I'm going to beat the shit out of this guy.
Okay.
I was mad it went 3 rounds. That's how cocky I was. Like, 3 rounds. Because JDS knocked him out, I think, in the first or second round, and I wanted to beat his time to beat him. So when it went 3 rounds, even though I beat the piss out of him for 3 rounds, and in hindsight, it was good for a young fighter to go 3 rounds to get the experience, I was upset I didn't starch him like JDS did. It's insane. Like, as I'm saying out loud, as a 40-year-old now, it's like, what the fuck? Someone need to sit this dumbass down. I'm like, whoa, this is a good thing, dude.
No, but you're in the moment. You're going 100 miles an hour. All you want to do is just like...
It was a different time,
forward.
too. It was a different time than now. Now, it's a lot more popular. There's a lot more fighters on the roster. The UFC's learned from pushing guys too fast, the way they did with Sage Northcutt or Darren Till, even with me. So I think it's just a different time now. They've learned from their mistakes, shout out to them. And for me, it was like world title shot. Like, let's get it as fast as we can. when in reality it should be like, slow the fuck down, dude.
Is the CroCop fight the fight you're most proud of?
I'm proud of all of it, man. I'm proud that, you know, after I beat CroCop and, you know, I shattered my nose and kept taking him down over and over. After that, I had the IQ to go, do we really want to do this for a living? Even though I was coming off the biggest victory and just got ranked the top 10 in the world, even at the highest point of my career, I went, is this really what we're going to do for the rest of our lives, dude? Like, you're better than this. We can figure some other stuff out. I like that when the UFC offered me CroCop, I wanted Nogueira, and I knew if I beat Nogueira, I'd get Brock Lesnar. I shouldn't have been in there with any of these guys, to be honest. Like, you know, I was a young kid.
Look at your resume, though.
My resume was good, and I'm proud of how much I got done in a short time. But it's cool to look back on it now. I'm like, man, you had some balls, kid. Like, what? Like, you went down to Brazil and fought him, and I was absolutely sure I was going to starch Nogueira, dude. I flew my family down there. We stayed in Brazil an extra 2 weeks. I just at the pool with a black eye, just depressed the whole time. You know, it's like, but those were all like, that was a great experience, man. It was the second Brazil card of all time. You're on the poster.
Yeah.
Like, this is nuts, dude. You're basically fighting Michael Jordan in Chicago.
Yeah.
Like, that's dope. It didn't go my way.
Yeah.
Oh, good, dude. Oh, no, you lost to Nogueira.
Brazil.
That's what's always weird. Like, and it's rare now because they're so long ago. But when people will be like, never forget, and it's like me getting knocked out by whoever, I'm like, oh, you don't get it, man. Like, that was dope. Like, yeah, I lost, but you don't realize, like, what I went through to get there, man. Like, that's not a knock on me. If that's your way to hate, that ain't the way to go, man.
If you had kept going down that path, how would the fight with Brock Lesnar have gone?
Again, I'd like to think I would beat him. You know, his striking was really bad, but he beat my training partner Shane Carwin. But Shane was beating him.
Like, I've had.
I think it would have went. It's tough to say, right? Because Brock deserves all the credit. He's such a freak, man. People don't realize. Like, you want to talk about a guy getting pushed fast, like his first fight, you know, one of his first fights against Heath Herring in the UFC, which is nuts. And
dude, he got a title shot with a 1-1 record.
Mm-hmm. and also he fought Frank Mir, dude, in the UFC and early in his career, and then came back and beat him. He fought Randy Couture, like, and he didn't have much experience at all. Didn't have a lot of training. Like, I know guys who were in his training camp. Like, he wasn't like doing the work that I was doing, and he's just that big of a freak. So I don't know. Brock's an animal, man, but. You're talking about a kid coming off, you know, the CroCop win. If I would have beaten Nogueira in Brazil, my confidence has been pretty high. So it'd been a good fight, I think.
Was he the champion at that time?
I don't think so. I think he was at that time. I think he might have. No, he lost to Cain Velasquez.
That's right. Yeah,
but it's still like back then. It was before the Conor era. Brock was the Conor, so it's like it was the money fight.
UFC 100 was, you know, made so much money because Brock is attached to that.
Correct.
And it's funny because Frank Mir is like, yeah, Brock made a lot of money on that. Yeah. And I didn't see any of the gate.
Yeah. Brock made stupid money, man. And he's a good dude, too.
Yeah?
Great guy. Like, because when he was fighting Shane, I was fighting, the way they did it, the story behind it was Brock Lesnar's training partner, Chris Tushishar, who was 20-1 at the time, they were best friends and training partners. Shane Carwin and I are best friends and training partners. So Shane versus Brock, Brendan versus Chris. So it's like the little brothers are fighting. And so he was 20-1. I was the main event on the undercard before that big UFC. So I kicked the pay-per-view off. And so I talked all this shit, not about my opponent, Chris Tushishar, he's whatever, about Brock Lesnar. And so the UFC was giving me an award and it was like on the Thursday or Friday before the fight, they're giving me an award. And we're all together, and Brock's there. I'm like, oh no, I've talked all this shit. And I remember my coach. I went, hey, just be ready to go, man. Like I fucked up. There he is. I didn't think we'd run into each other. I was like, be ready to go, man. He's with some big boys. And my coach's name at the time was Leister Bolin. He's a savage. He's like, I'll be ready to go, man. He's like this little ball of muscle. I'm like, just be ready to go, dude. And we get up there, and I'm like I'm on edge, and Brock was just he like killed me with kindness. And was like, dude, I'm so proud of you, man. Like from football, are you kidding me, man? He's like, good for you, brother. Good for you. I get it, man. And I was like, oh wow, you're like the nicest guy ever.
Wow.
Yeah, he was like such a good person. Such a good person. Yeah. I was like, oh, I don't want to fight this guy. He's cool, so cool. You know.
With you having 6 podcasts.
Yeah.
Do you have to save certain stories for certain shows?
Yes, sometimes it might lap over. So I like because they're all so different. So it's like anything on Thick Boy Network, like the Schaub Show or Food Truck or One on One, is so fight specific.
Yeah.
The Golden Hour with Chris and Eric, they don't. If you had a gun to their head and like name 10 UFC fighters, they couldn't do it. So they're not. Even if there's a huge UFC, they're not even interested in it. So Fight Talk won't get brought up there. On the Fire and the Kid, Brian's a fight fan, but he's not like balls deep in it like I am. So we might touch on the fights and I'll give my same picks, but I won't get as deep as I do on the other shows. So if people want deeper and like more perspective on things, they'll listen to the other show. But with Brian, it's just a good time. Like you got 2 comedy shows and a sports show, really.
But if you have a great story that happened to you
Sometimes,
that week,
yeah, sometimes.
do you go, ooh, it's going to go on this show?
Nope, I'll just naturally.
Okay.
That just that like if it comes up in conversation, and then if I said it on I'll allude to it. Like I said this on Golden Hour, but
Okay.
and so fans are like, "Come on, dude!"
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I try not to.
How much do you think that conversation that you had with Joe Rogan, the intervention people call it, how much do you think that played into you going, man, I maybe need to rethink my career and focus more on life after fighting?
Well, I mean, obviously Joe gets all the credit, and that's my brother. You know, we talk all the time, and he's major influence in my career. Like nobody bigger than him. But I think it should be noted. I've said this before. Like I thought, I mean, months before the fight, I said it was my last one. But he, you know, I think he was coming from a good place. You know, he's coming from a really good place trying to protect me. And I think in hindsight, it's like, that was the move. Like, you look at my life now, it's like, yeah, that was the move.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm working at a UFC gym holding mitts, I'm like, man, Joe fucked them. But Joe knows his stuff. He's one of the smartest people I've ever met. So he knows his stuff. So, you know, and my family was really mad at Joe. Really, man. I told Joe this. Like, my dad was pissed. My brother was pissed at him for that. Like, you see, you know, it's a little embarrassing. But my brother and my dad didn't know. Is like, you know, before I even walked out for that last UFC fight, I looked at my team before. They were like, "You're up, dude." And they're like 3-2. I looked at my team and went, "Last one." And they're like, "Oh, damn." I didn't want to do it. I'm like, I'm never doing this again. So I knew it was the last one, but then the fighter in me, when Joe brought that up, I was embarrassed and you know, I was pretty emotional. But thank God he did that.
But do you not go like, man, we could have talked about this off camera?
Yeah, and to be honest, you know, when that happened, it was supposed to be a fighter and the kid, and the last second, Bryan Callen was like, "Hey, Joe wants to do it with us." I was like, "Yeah, I don't want to drive there, man. Let's just do it on Fire and the Kid. It'd be better on our show." And he's like, "No, we'll do it on Rogan's, but Rogan, that's not actually a JRE. That's a Fire and the Kid on JRE. Does that make sense?"
Yeah.
So it's a fire. That's a Fire and the Kid show. I mean, it's our biggest show of all fucking time. But
Sure.
we could have talked about whales. It'd still be our biggest show on Rogan, but it was on Rogan's. It was in his studio, but it was actually a Fire and the Kid.
It was on your feed.
Yeah, and also it was live, but you know, whatever you get 50,000, 100,000 people watching it live, but the numbers come from when it gets uploaded. And after we got done, Rogan goes, "Dude, like I didn't want to have that. I didn't think we were gonna go that route. Who knows?" But he goes, "I didn't think we were gonna go that deep. Let's not post that. We don't want to post it." And Brian's like, "I agree. Let's not post that." I went, "Now you're out of your mind, man. Let's post it." He's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Because there's a lot of guys who feel the way I do. This might help somebody else." And it's also real. Like, I never believe in like editing and all that stuff. Like, if you're going to say something, ride with it, man. Unless there's like a huge error or something like that.
There's like a big, I feel like, imposter syndrome with a lot of things that are done in entertainment, but especially comedy. Because you're standing up there with a microphone in hand, basically going like, I am going to make you guys laugh. When was the first moment when you went, I feel like I belong here now?
Oh, I mean, I'll let you know when that happens. It's never happened for me. Never. I always feel like an imposter, always, especially with my background, especially the way, you know, the comedy scene in LA is broken up since the pandemic. All my friends left. It's like,
yeah, are you going to Texas too?
if I went to Texas, I'd go to like Texas. I'd go to like Fort Worth. Like if I'm going to make a change, I'm not going to go to Austin. That's more blue than
California,
LA.
Texas, yeah.
Yeah. It's just now all my friends are there, and there's a reason why I should probably go there. But Fort Worth is only 2-hour drive away, a 20-minute plane ride. So that would make, if I go to Texas, I'm going Texas. I mean,
Dude, you could live
I'm
on
talking
like 50 acres.
Correct. I'm having a cowboy hat, tight ass jeans. Like I'm going Texas, man. Going super Texas.
No more baseball jerseys?
Oh no, but there's gonna be a freaking Rangers jersey. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Why is it an Orioles jersey?
I do, every city I go to, I always get the authentic jersey. So
I saw you wearing an Indians jersey.
I can't even. I love the Indians jersey. just because when I was a kid, I was always creative as a kid. I'd buy the Indians hat, and I'd always I'd make it different. I'd take the gold Sharpie and do one of the teeth gold. And people are like, I can't believe you wear that. Native Americans, I'm like, oh, fuck off, dude. You think Native Americans care, man?
No.
No,
So you
it's
just,
the least of the worries.
every city you go to, you buy a jersey.
I buy a jersey. That's one of the first things I do. I buy a jersey. I love baseball jerseys. Now my son's really into baseball, so I'm even more into baseball. So
It's my thing that I do with my dad. We go to a different baseball stadium every year.
oh, I love
Been
that.
at 24 of them.
What's your favorite?
It's got to be Fenway, maybe Wrigley.
I'd say Wrigley.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wrigley or Fenway.
There's a magic with Wrigley.
And I think we got to put them in two different categories of like the classic stadiums and then the new stadiums.
Yeah, because have you been to the Padres Stadium?
Yeah, I was just going to bring that
That's
up.
probably the best. As
That
far as
co
like
is
new
so
and like
good.
location and like easy access,
Right
not
in the
crazy.
middle of the city.
It's easy.
Yes.
It's by far the best. Dodgers probably the worst, to be honest. To get in
Tampa
and out
is the worst.
Well, yeah, I don't count them, but they don't count as a baseball team, although they're pretty good. But just like I don't count the Jacksonville Jaguars in the NFL. But they're so bad. But with LA, with the Dodgers, like obviously it's one of the biggest teams in the freaking world. Them and the Yankees. It's like to get into that stadium, it's like one way in, one way out.
And very expensive to park.
Oh
there.
my god, it costs an arm and a leg just to park. It's a bit of a nightmare. And then you get to Padres, you're like, this is how it should be, dude.
Driving up to Dodger Stadium is funny because you're driving through neighborhoods and you're like, "What? Are you sure the stadium's
You're
over
like,
here?"
this way? They're like, yeah, keep going, and then take a right.
And you're climbing this hill, and then all of a sudden there's a parking lot.
Yeah.
You're like, "I guess this is it." And then if you don't park close enough, you walk up a hill, and you're like, "Oh,
it's a 2-mile walk.
it's
And-
like the cathedral right
and
here."
I parked 2 miles away, so my kids have realized like this is what I went through as a kid. My dad parked so far away. Like, don't you have a VIP pass? I'm like, yeah, well, I do, but you guys need to learn. You need to respect this shit, man.
I'm a Blue Jays fan because I grew up in Toronto.
Oh, you're Canadian.
I'm Canadian, yeah.
Oh, wow.
But I don't think that stadium's good at all. Like with Sky Dome, now it's called Rogers Center.
Yeah.
It feels like a place where you would have like a convention.
Yeah. Well, that's like, have you been to SoFi where the Rams play?
Yes.
It's like, and even the players have alluded to this. It doesn't feel real. Like players don't like it because it's such a LA Hollywood thing, and there's like the suites there, and you almost
Yeah.
feel like Caesar, like you're gonna do this, right? It's like this weird vibe, man.
At least it's open air though, because even if the roof's closed, it's translucent, so like the sun gets to shine in.
Yeah, and you get the smog. Yeah. Yeah. And that's in the hood too. Like I go left at Randy's Donuts. Like,
like-
yeah, go left down Randy's Donuts. And then you're gonna pass a bunch of Crips on your left. Take a right there. There's gonna be Bloods on your right. Just wave them. Don't wear red. Just wave. And then keep going straight. You're like, okay, this is worth it.
When you look at the address and you're like, oh, it's in Inglewood.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the heart of it, dude.
I pre-bought parking there for WrestleMania
Yeah.
for like $70.
Yeah.
And I went in and I'm like, if I hadn't prepaid, I'm just curious, how much would it be? And she's like, oh, today? $90.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
dude.
$90.
Yeah, they're balling out there. Balling.
$90.
I love Toronto though. Back to Toronto. I love Toronto, man.
It's a great city.
Love Toronto. I never fought there. I was a guest for the UFC when GSP fought Jake Shields, and I helped corner Randy Couture against Lyoto Machida in Toronto. So Toronto holds a special place. Also, one of the greatest cities.
I went to that one.
One of the greatest cities for stand-up comedy.
Really?
Oh, Toronto's fantastic.
Do you have certain cities you go to and you're like, this is my crowd?
Toronto's one of them. Toronto, top 5. I haven't been there in probably 6 years, and we have some booked on the docket now. But I haven't been to Toronto for it. But Toronto, top 5. Toronto, Vancouver's great. Calgary's great. Canada's a great market, man. It's just your politics.
Yeah.
It's like North Korea up there. Yeah. It's
We
a
don't need to
nightmare.
go there.
Oh, don't get me started.
When
Don't
you
get me started on yeah. I don't get kicked off YouTube, man.
You bring up GSP. I was surprised when like it actually happened that he's training Elon Musk. Like, is this fight actually going to happen?
I mean, gun to the head, I don't think the fight happens. Especially they're going to be in this legal battle with Threads and Twitter now, right? So
Yeah.
I think they're going to deal with that.
Maybe that's the storyline for the fight.
That could be. What they should do is whoever loses has to take the other one down. Like because they're doing it for charity.
Damn.
It should be loser has to delete those.
This is like a
delete the
pro
account.
wrestling match, like loser leaves town match.
Yeah,
this
that's
is
what they
like
should do.
Loser gets rid of Twitter or Threads.
Yeah, like that's because they're doing it for charity. Like it's not about money. Okay, cool. It definitely is.
Dude,
but
you've got a bit here.
I'm telling you, like loser, and let's get weird, dude. They want to do in the Italian in Italy in the Coliseum. Let's get loser dies. How about that? Let's get some swords, some tigers. Like, make it old school. Give him a helmet. Yeah, Zuckerberg's 50 pounds underweight. Give him a fucking helmet. Like, let's get weird, dude. Let's go medieval on that ass.
So you don't think the fight's actually going to happen?
I don't. I mean,
what's the point of them training then?
I think it's good for marketing, but and even Elon was like, I need a lot more training. Like, this thing's not happening. If they do decide to do it, you're looking at a year or two from now. Like, they're going to do some more training. Like, even Elon was like, they're like, what'd you learn from GSP? He's like, I have a long ways to go. It's like, well, yeah, compared to GSP, I mean, you have the longest ways to go. But,
well, yeah.
And with Zuckerberg, I don't know. I don't see it happening. I think it'd be the most watched fight in the history of entertainment of all time.
You've seen the clips of Zuckerberg. Do you think he can actually go?
No. I think the product will be awful. I think, and I would watch, but you're watching two nerds fight it out, and then they've never been high competition ever, and so just the way, even to control their heart rate, like the first 2 minutes are gonna be interesting, and I don't think either has the enough power to like finish the other one off. So by that third round, 3 minutes in, it's going to be a shit show, and their bodies are terrible. It's just this, it's this weird spectacle, man.
You don't think
I'll watch it?
Zuckerberg couldn't catch him in a choke? I feel like that's like looks like he can roll, kind of.
Compared to what? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's where we're at. It's like, no, Zuckerberg could do it. It's like, you talking about the guy who can fucking jump on that surfboard? That guy? Talking about the guy that had all the suntan all over his face, the lotion on that nerd? Like, no, he's pretty tough. I'm like, is he though? Oh, that's where we're at? That's where we're at? We're going to pretend Elon doesn't have tits? Okay. What are they going to wear? They're going to wear rash guards to hide their body? Like, what are we going to do, dude?
Well, somehow Zuckerberg's going to have to hide the fact that he's a robot, right?
Yeah. He gets punched and it's just his red eye comes out. It's like, oh shit. We're going down a weird road. And now I was completely against it when it first got announced. I'm like, Jesus, this is where we're at.
But it's coming at the perfect time, because when Logan Paul first started fighting and Jake Paul started having the fights, people went, it's just a YouTuber. And then you went, oh, Jake can actually box.
Well, but there's a difference there, because Jake was trained for like 3 years prior to that, 24/7 with professional boxers with all the resources. You're talking about 3 years. And then Logan and Jake have a wrestling background. Like, they competed, in Ohio, which is damn
like
good.
State champions,
yeah,
right?
Damn good amateur wrestling, man. So these are athletic kids. Elon and Mark Zuckerberg are not, I hate to tell you guys, are not. Like, my 7-year-old beat the shit out of both of them right now. But we're just going to pretend that, like, no, Zuckerberg's rolled for a year. Yeah, he's a white belt. He's an unathletic white belt.
That's all he is. He's just a white belt?
He's just a white belt. Oh. So kudos to him.
And that's not just, I'm no belt, so it's far better than me.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably pick you over Zuckerberg. You just knowing you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate
I don't know if that helps, but
no,
it's like, yeah, again, I don't want to shit on these guys, and kudos for them. They have all the money in the world, and they're going to risk, their egos and their reputations on a cage fight. Like, kudos to you, man. And I was really against it until I talked to Dominic Cruz, and he's all for it. And he's the smartest guy, I think, in the game. When he broke it down, he was like, I think it's good. He's like, I think it's a good thing because, for whatever reason, whatever politics side they decide they're on, we've put them in these categories. And for them to go through this and put it on the line, like, it's actually a good thing. I was like, all right, fair point.
I think that it'll make a lot of people watch UFC that have never watched UFC before.
I think it will make a lot of people watch Elon and Zuckerberg fight, and it's going to be such a bad product. People are like, we're good. We're good. We never want to see this again.
If I was
like, I'll go out on Hollywood right now and film a better fight for you right now. Like, Spider-Man. Have you ever seen Spider-Man like Hulk throw down? Like, way more entertaining.
Get down.
But talking about two billionaires, so it's like I'll watch two billionaires slap each other.
The thing I'd be most worried about if I was either one of them is something's going to happen in the fight that's going to be a GIF forever, and I wouldn't want that to happen to me.
Yeah, I don't know if those guys are even thinking like that. Like, they're so rich and famous, like, whatever.
But like, you see the GIFs that get made every time anybody gets knocked out.
Correct.
What if you're one of the most famous people on the planet, and now you've got a GIF of you like doing something like this?
You're still the most famous guy on the planet. And then if I'm Elon, I'm making it, I'm suppressing all that. Like, it's not going on Twitter. And if I'm Zuckerberg, I run Instagram and Facebook. Do not post anything about making fun of me. Suppressing all that. I'm doing the Biden shit. I'm suppressing all the Hunter Biden stories, man.
You're going to get us kicked off YouTube here.
Yeah, 100%. Welcome, dude. Yeah.
Stop saying it.
Yeah.
Do you think Jake Paul's the real deal?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, real in regards to what? To like a Canelo? No. But as far as legit boxing, the kid can fucking box, man. At his level, for having 7 fights, the kid can box. And what I appreciate, same thing with Elon, Mark Zuckerberg, is they can do anything. Jake can do. I know Jake and Logan very well. Logan used to live pretty close to me. They're great people. They work fucking hard, man. And Logan, smart fucking dude, very smart dude. But they could make money playing checkers, even though they don't play checkers. So they could literally decide to do anything, make money. They decide to do the toughest gig in the business and get punched in the face. Kudos. And they're putting it out there, man. Like he lost his last fight to Tommy Fury. Now he's fighting Nate Diaz. That's insane, dude. Like the balls on that kid's insane.
How do you think that fight goes?
I know it's 10 rounds now. I think it could be a tough night in the office for Jake if Nate's taking it serious. If Nate is crossing all his T's, dotting all his I's, and taking it serious like he did against, whatever, name a big fighter that he fought in the UFC, if he's bringing that same energy and attitude, it could get a little dicey for Jake. Now, if Nate doesn't respect him, he's like, oh, it's just a YouTuber, Nate's going to get knocked out.
Jake has a lot to lose here because he's coming off of, the loss to Tommy Fury. If he loses to, quote unquote, just an MMA guy, where does he go from there?
Yeah, it's probably over. All good, dude. The ride's been fucking great. How much money you make?
A lot of money.
And there's nothing to hang your head on. Oh, no, you lost to Tommy Fury and Nate Diaz. It made $100 million. Oh, what a loser. Like, okay.
If he wins here, is it a Conor McGregor fight maybe?
If he wins here, maybe a Nick Diaz fight. I could see that. Like that makes a little makes the story there. I think the Conor fight happens eventually.
Do you think you'd fight again?
Never. No, never.
Really? Like a lot of people go, never say never.
I'm 40, dude. I got kids. I need all the brain cells.
Frank Mir recently fought.
Frank's not doing what I do. You know what I'm saying? Like I make, just to be very transparent, it's like if I do 3 comedy dates, I'll make more doing that than I would getting punched in the face. Wow. Unless they came to me and was like, you're fighting The Rock on you're the co-main event of Elon and Zuckerberg. The Rock wants to fight you. Then I'm like, well, that makes sense. Like if you're talking about fuck you money, like 50 mil, no one's paying 50 mil to watch my dumbass fight. But if they somehow The Rock felt froggy, he was like, I want to test myself. And this guy hasn't been doing it. I'm like, I'll fight The Rock and make all the money in the world.
Of all the people,
I'll fight Momoa or what the fuck, Moana. I'll fight Moana. Yeah.
Like he was.
But if you ask me if like Mario Lopez, like that's
Maui.
Like,
he was Maui.
He was Maui. That's right. In Moana.
You've got kids. You should know this.
Yeah, I should know this. I really fucked up. God damn it. Bad dad.
By the way, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Threw that in there.
That's right, dog. It'd have to be something like that. Like, Harrison Ford wants to fight you, man. I'm like, Harrison Ford? I'll beat the shit. Like, yeah. Harrison Ford and Clint Eastwood want to fight in a tag team, man. But them two versus you, I'm like, sign me up. Like, that'd make all the money in the world. I'd get so much hate for
I'd
that.
watch that.
Everyone would hate me, but all good, daddy. I'm making so much money, I would just retire from everything.
Dude, you got to win that fight then.
Oh, I'm winning that fight.
You gotta win that
Too
fight.
easy, dude. Too easy. That's like it's like
Eastwood
I'd be a minus 70,000 favorite in that. I would hope. Yeah. What if it's like even odds? Just fucking disrespectful.
But with all the podcasts and the comedy, how do you balance this with having a family? Because I'm right there. My daughter's 5 weeks old right now.
Oh, the first one?
Yeah.
Oh, you're in the thick of it, dude. 5
Sure
weeks
are.
though. Listen, everyone's gonna tell you like, dude, when that baby comes into this world, it's life changing. No, it's not. For the mom, it is. But until that kid's like 3-4 months old, because right now it's a football with eyes, and it needs the mom so much. You're like this like caretaker to make sure everyone stays alive, and then you're working to bring food to the family. But there's like the connections with the mom the first few months, and then it just grows this thing. Yeah. Oh, I was like, oh, I'm Jeffrey Dahmer. Like I feel nothing right now. Like it's cool, and it's like, oh shit, this is nuts to have a kid. But it's like, man, where's that connection everyone tells you about? Oh, because they're full of shit.
Literally.
That's been this folklore for how many years? And then you get there like, oh man, this is weird.
There was a moment like last week where she smiled at me for the first time, and I went, oh, that's the thing.
It's the little moments. Yeah, but like when it first starts.
I had to check her diaper. I'm like, were you smiling because you just pooped yourself?
Correct.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, you actually like me.
That was for real.
Yeah, and then it just gets better and better and better. Like I got my third's on the way in December, a baby girl.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Wow.
Nothing better. So as far as juggling like kids in the work, I'm lucky enough where it's my business, so I can control it. So they don't know like I can drop them off at school every day because I can say, all right, we're doing the show at 9. or 10 a.m.
Yeah.
So I drop them off at school. Then I'll wrap the show around 2. My show's around 2 or 3. I can pick them up, drop them out. And then we come home, make them dinner. We swim or whatever, do our thing, and take them to baseball. And then they go to bed, and then I'm off to the Comedy Store, the Improv, or the Laugh Factory. And then when they wake up, I'm there. They don't know. So so I'm able to set the schedule.
When do you sleep?
Yeah, I'm up at 4 or 5 every day. Every day. I'm an early bird anyways. But the only time it gets dicey is the road. When I leave on like a Thursday and I'm back on a Sunday, that's when it gets tough.
But you've got a lot of dates on the road. Like that's where you make your money.
Yeah.
You know, you're sharpening.
It's a fine balance.
You're honing your craft here, you know, the Comedy Store, wherever, and trying stuff out. But when you go on the road, that's where you're making money.
Correct. And my 7-year-old, he's starting to realize it, but he hates when I leave. And that's why I always work in the summer, even though unless you're like this massive name, most comics take the summer off because you're competing with like fucking Katy Perry. Like it's a tough gig, dude. Or you're competing with like Post Malone or Taylor Swift.
Yes,
the biggest names in the
tours,
world
yeah.
wait for the summer tour. Drake, he's on tour in the summer. So you don't want to compete with that stuff. So a lot of comics take the summer off. I always worked in the summer, always, except for this year. I had a big Europe tour. I was supposed to be gone for 2 weeks, but my wife with our 3rd kid coming is sick as shit. I got to be around the house. So, all right, reschedule it. First time in my life I went, reschedule it. Reschedule. Like, man, you're supposed to make this much money. It's not worth it. Reschedule it. You know? So it's like this fine balance where it's okay to not capitalize on that money and sharing the experience with your kids. Like, it's all good, man. It's just balance.
What's the process look like for finding new material and then like working on and going, okay, this is kind of working. Let's kind of work on it so it gets to here.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, because I do so many shows, is I'll mark certain things down where, you know, I do 2 shows with other comedians. So if I bring like a hot take on like Hunter Biden I had the other day and how much fun it'd be to party with him. Terrible human being, but one night get a party with one person. I'm picking Hunter Biden, dude. Yeah. He's doing meth. He's jumping a 911, driving 100 miles an hour down, and there's hookers everywhere. Like, this guy's a good time Charlie, right? Like, he's a fun time. One night. I don't want to watch my kids. He's in pedophile shit. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking one night to go out and party and rage. Hunter Biden's my guy right now. So that was just a natural hot take, and Brian's laughing at it, who's a great comic. Chris D'Elia and Eric Griffin are laughing at it. I'm like, oh, there's something here. So I'll write that down, and I'll work on it that night, and then I'll just bring it up on the road, see how that goes, and then it slowly starts to get legs, and you just add punchlines, add into it, and then in a year from now, that'll be a good bit.
A lot of your friends are people like, you know, they're legends, right?
Yeah.
And they're people that up-and-coming comedians would wish to spend 5 minutes with to pick their brain. So what's some of the best advice you've got from someone like Brian, you know, knowing him for a decade plus?
Man, that's a good question. I think because I'm so close to the fire with those guys, it's like they've given me such great advice. And it's not an arrogant thing. It's just what my life is, if that makes sense. It's like, so they drop these pearls on you where I think most people would write it down and post on Instagram. With me, I'm like, yeah, that's a Tuesday, you know? So between Callen and Rogan, who I talk to the most, or Bert Kreischer, you know, there's not, with comedy, there's not much you can say besides just like doing the work. It just takes years to get good, man. And especially in this social media age that we're in, it's like you're gonna have some mean people, man. And like these comics that I look up to, they didn't have social media. So it's like my kind of double-edged sword, like the curse I have is, yeah, I'm a name when I got into stand-up. So when I'm friends with Rogan and Burr and Segura and Kreischer and Joey Diaz and Theo, like, it's going to take me time to, hopefully I get to their level. I'm nowhere near their level, but it's going to take time. But because I'm associated with them, people want that now. And the haters are going to focus on that right now. Oh, look at your special compared to Bill Burr's. Like, yeah, dude. Yeah, his is better. He's the best in the world.
Yeah.
Hate to tell you, Michael Phelps is a better swimmer, dude. It's like, what you think was going to happen? So I have to deal with that. You know, I take it in stride,
How do you deal with that?
I don't pay attention a lot to it.
Like with great love and great respect for you, you get way more of it than other comics do.
As far as hate?
Yeah.
Yes and no. I mean, Bert deals with a lot of hate. Rogan deals with a ton of hate, but they're at such a level. Like, that's how it goes, man. Like it's just how like Drake could post something like his music. This album's shitty. Go to Spotify, it's the #1 album. Okay.
Yeah. It comes with the territory.
It comes with the territory, and then I think I have the perfect blend because when you look at the MMA fan base, it's very, very vile. It's a very toxic group. But there's also some great people. So you have the great people who love me, but you're gonna have a very, very toxic group. And then comedy, same way. It's very toxic in some areas. Now when you blend those two, you get the perfect storm of hate, and it's all headed towards me. So it's like, what are you gonna do?
You've got a lot of armchair experts also that are, giving you criticism.
That's social media in general.
Yeah. Like a lot of people that are giving critiques on MMA that have never done anything in that world.
But that's social media. So it's like, it's up to you to decide how much you want to put into that. And I post and ghost. I used to have someone or a team just do my social media, but fans can tell it's not authentic. It's very corporate when you do that. So I went, well, that can't be the route. I have to have the discipline to post and ghost. Like post, see, and then go through what other your buddies are posting, see what's going on in the world, and then get out. It's a discipline thing.
Like you mentioned, anybody can have a podcast, but there's a lot of people that want to do it. I always say the best thing about podcasting is anybody can do it. And the worst thing about podcasting is also anybody can do it.
Well, it's like with the new threads popping up. It's like, oh my God, another one?
I know.
And it's the exact same as Twitter.
I just cut and paste what I put on Twitter. I'll just put it on
Threads.
Yeah.
I guess, man. It's like, do we need another one?
I wanted someone to explain to me how Threads was different without saying who owned it and without saying like something to do with politics. How is the app itself different?
Nothing. And that's why they're getting sued. It's like when you cheat off your buddy's homework. It's like, hey, make it a little different. But they just turn in the exact same thing. You're like, all right, I guess, dude. And they'll be dealt with for that. But it's exhausting. It's like when you're a kid at dinner, and you finish your plate, your mom put on more. You're like, more? That's how I feel like with Threads. I'm like, more? I have to. Oh my God, really? And you're feeding it down your fucking throat. But it's like, it's the day and age we live in, man. Like, you have to keep up with the times, unfortunately.
What do you think someone needs to do if they want to be successful in podcasting?
Not do it. No.
That's pretty good advice.
Just be different. I'd say like there's so much out there now. There's so much content. A, find a way to be different. B, find a way to specialize in what you're doing. Like, I think the day and age of just two guys getting together and just shooting the shit, unless people know you, if you're trying to start from there, they can get it to too many other places from legit experts. So it's like just you and your buddy shooting the shit ain't the way.
My friends think we're funny, so we should record this.
I get that all the time. But then also consistency. Like, I remember me and Bryan had a come to Jesus moment because anything I do, I'm all in. I get obsessed with it. So I remember he was like loosey-goosey. Like, you'd show up late and we'd shoot on Tuesday and sometimes shoot on Thursday. I'm like, no. Here's the schedule, dude. We're shooting every fucking Monday, Wednesday. If you're late or can't make it, I'm out, man. And he's like, oh, damn. All right. So I treat it like when I used to work for ESPN for a lot of years. I worked for Showtime, and there was a schedule, man. So in order to separate yourself from the pack, you got to treat it like you're on a set of ESPN or set of Showtime. Like that's your job, man. Where people are taking it too loosey goosey.
Yeah, if you treat it like a hobby, you're going to get paid like a hobby.
Correct.
Treat it like a job, you're going to get paid like a job.
Agree.
And you're so right. You can't go to ESPN and be like, man, we'll just record it tomorrow. Yeah, don't worry about it.
I'll be in at 2. Like you just like it's not you're not going to make it. It's too competitive now.
That's actually a great piece of advice.
It's way too competitive. And I think the other challenge people have, and I deal with it myself, trust me, it's like we live in this day and age with, how do I want to say this? Because podcasting used to be a niche thing. It used to be, when me and Bryan were doing it, we were the first kind of athlete comic to do it, and we had this niche audience. Well, now you'll find an athlete and a comic all over the fucking place.
Yeah, and Spotify will pay them $500,000
yeah, correct.
to do it.
Yeah, like, fuck those guys. But so it's a weird thing now where the country's so polarized. So if you say certain things, you're going to get demonetized, or you're going to get suppressed, or you're going to get shadow banned. But I think now more than ever, you're going to take some hits. Trust me, I've taken so many hits. But you have to keep, you got to make sure you don't censor yourself. Otherwise, you're never going to make it. And I don't know if you're going to make it. I wouldn't say I've made it, but I know where I want to go. And where I want to go includes censoring and making sure that I don't hurt anybody's feelings. Now, I say hurt anybody's feelings. I'm not talking about being mean or, being anti whatever it is. Nah, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you're scared to say something about Trump or you're scared to say something about the vaccines or Biden. Like, you should, especially as a comic, you should have that freedom to play in that space. But when YouTube we know this is censoring things and Facebook is censoring things and Instagram censoring things, people are so scared of it. So then you're not getting the best product. We have to fight that. And the only way you fight that is continue to do it, man. Or another platform opens up, or you open up your own platform. I don't know the formula for it. I'm going through it right now. We're trying to figure it out. But once we start censoring ourselves, we're fucked, dude. We're fucked. And then you're just like every other show. Now it's going to come. You're going to take some hits, man. I've taken some hits. But it's what I know in my heart that you have to keep going, keep fighting the fight.
I feel like you've lived so many lives. Like when you look back on it, like
I'm like Gandalf, dude.
Seriously. Yeah. And you're only 40. Like we're the same age. I think maybe you're 1 year older
than me.
You look
so much younger, dude. Yeah.
I only have one kid. That's why.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
The kids actually make me younger.
Oh,
it's
good.
the work that.
Then we're going to age in reverse here.
Yeah.
But like football was the focus of your life for so long. Then fighting was the focus for so long. Then it was podcasting, then comedy. When you think about all of that, how do you identify yourself?
I don't identify with anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's society wants to put you in these lanes and in these buckets. Like, no, he's this. Like, no, I'm not. No, but he's this. No, I'm not. That's why I'm allowed to. That's why I've had these different careers. I've never subscribed to that. Well, why can't I do this?
Yeah.
Well, because they've been doing all their lives. I don't care. If I learn it, I apply myself. I might not be world champion. I might not be Bill Burr. I'm going to get pretty fucking good if I commit to something. So people are like, yeah, but you used to do this, so you can't do this. Who told you that? You had shitty parents, man.
Yeah.
So my dad always told me, you do whatever the fuck you want. So that's what I do. Whatever I want to do, I do it. You're going to get some haters. Okay, bring them on.
Before we wrap this up, I need you to know that my very first job was I worked in the fish department of a pet store in a mall.
Oh, sick.
So when I saw that you had an Arowana, I was like,
dude.
oh my gosh.
If you know your fish.
I know my fish.
Oh, dude, yeah. I just posted a video today on my Instagram story. My Arowana, because this is the problem with fish stores. And when you have kids and stuff like that. Like, so Arowana, when you buy them at the store, they're like this. And they'll go, hey, man, that thing like grows 2 inches a month, so be prepared to upgrade your tank. And you're like, whatever. They ain't lying.
Those things
These
are
fucking
vicious.
they're I love them. So, now I bought him as a baby. Now he's like this.
Yeah, in the wild, I think they grow up to like 3 feet.
4 feet. Yeah, 4
So-
feet. The biggest one's 4. In captivity, they'll get up at least 2 feet. Like you're talking about a big boy. They'll eat mice. They'll eat squirrels and shit, lizards.
We would always have people come in and go, where's the piranha? I'd be like, I'll show you the piranha. But
Piranhas suck.
Piranhas suck unless they're in a massive
They're timid.
school.
They're shy.
Yes.
Like Rogan used to have piranhas.
They like to be in dark, muddy water. So at a fish store with like clear water and lots of lights, they're freaking out. I said, if you really want to see something, let me show you the Arowana. And we had a guy who owned an Arowana. And when you own fish like that, people have to come in and always buy feeder fish.
I'm there twice a week buying feeder
Or
fish.
you're buying crickets or whatever.
Oh, dude, I have 2 bearded dragons too. It's exhausting.
So you've got crickets hopping around your house, don't you?
everywhere. They're making noise and shit.
Of course.
Yeah. My son doesn't do anything with them. Like my house is like it's like an Ace Ventura Pet Detective. When he wakes up and all the animals come out, that's my basement, my man cave. I have a giant bearded lizard tank over here. I have a 100-gallon tank over here. I have a 100-gallon tank here. And then because the Arowana got so goddamn big, I have a 300-gallon tank just for the Arowanas.
What?
It's 2 Arowanas and a flower horns in there.
Oh,
and they're just gangster, dude. And I
Flower
tell my kids, I'm
horn
like,
is
do
a
not put
mean
your
fish.
Yeah, dude. They're the most aggressive fish.
We had a customer that would buy live mice to feed it to their Arowana.
I'm not there yet. I like mice. They're cute as fuck. But I'll toss some like monster worms in that tank. I'll just toss shrimp in there.
Have you ever held the worm over top of the tank?
Yeah.
They jump out?
My kids love it. My kids, they think I'm so cool, dude. Like, if I need a confidence boost, I'm like, who wants to feed their Arowanas? Watch dad. And then I put like a worm over the top. Like jump out like, dang, like thanks, kids. And I go about my day.
I had African cichlids for a long time.
I have African cichlids.
Oh, you do?
Yep.
I got deep into the weeds on that, like knowing like the names, like the scientific
African,
names.
there's American cichlids. Like there's a lot going on.
I didn't like the South American cichlids so much, but the African cichlids, like the yellow labs, are so bright with their yellow and I'm not going to say the scientific names, but I had all of them in there. Yeah, they were.
It gets
crazy.
dicey. And then what's interesting about what I love fish too, it's like when you have a community tank, especially with air, like I like aggressive, like monster fish, but you have to be careful because only certain ones can be with them. Like,
Yes.
like in the community tank, there's tank mates. And then if you want to spread their aggression, you have to buy a bunch of fish. Because if it's just 3 fish, monster fish, they'll kill each other.
And you need places for them to hide.
Yes, but if you put enough fish in there, they're kind of like, there's too much shit here. I'm just gonna keep going, you know. So it's been dicey in that. Like I had this Oscar. When I bought the 300-gallon tank, I needed to cycle it so to make it safe for the fish, get all the bacteria. So I bought the 2 biggest Oscars I could find. I mean, these fucking things are like, they're the trash men of the fish.
Yeah.
Like they'll eat hot dogs. You toss your ring in there, they'll eat that. They're basically like bull sharks. But so they're doing things swimming there. And then when I put my fancy fish, the arowanas, the flower horns, and the free, what else? I got Jack Dempsey. I put all them in there at once. The Oscars were like, no, this is our house. So they started fighting the arowana and stuff. It was like Fight Club. I'm like, oh shit. So I had to take them out. And then for whatever, this is fish, dude. And for whatever reason, I put the 2 Oscars in the 100-gallon tank just together. The big one was like, you know what, man? This isn't big enough for the both of us. I was like, oh, they'll be fine. Even though they're like fighting like this when I first put them in there. I go to work, come back, the big one killed the other one. You're like, God, dog. It's a nightmare.
I lived in Florida for 5 years, and people get sick of their Oscars, so they just throw them in the canal.
I can relate to that.
So I'd be bass fishing, and you would catch Oscars. You're like, what the? This is an aquarium
Yeah,
fish.
you're like, this is an Oscar. Do I eat this? No.
But it's also like, oh, this is the perfect climate for them to live in.
And they're
In
gangster
Florida.
too. They can go through some shit.
Yeah.
But the problem is the bearded dragons. Like I was telling my wife this morning because my kids stay at their grandma's and grandpa's, but then I have to wake up. I got to basically do the Ace Ventura thing, get up the crickets, cut up the lettuce, and the kids don't even play with these fucking bearded dragons. I'm like, I need to do some research. Can I just let these bearded dragons like into the Santa Monica Mountains, man? Like,
I mean,
they're desert, they're desert
Yes.
lizards. Can you? I don't.
no.
And then I
Not
also,
legally.
Yeah. Then I also get it because when I was at the pet store, this guy was like, "Oh, you have bearded dragons?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You want another?" And I was like, "Oh, that's really nice of you, dude." I'm like, "How big is he?" He's like, "He's fucking big, man." I was like, "I might." He's like, "Let me get your number." I'm like, "Oh, this guy's aggressive, but he's really nice." And I was like, "Yeah, that's a big lizard, man. I need a bigger tank." He's like, "I'll give you the tank, like whatever you want, man." I'm like, "This guy's so nice." Having these bearded dragons for 4 months, I'm like, "Oh,
now
I
I
get
get
it,
it.
dude. You're gonna do whatever it takes to get that fucking lizard off your hands." You know?
Watching Howie Mandel's fascination with your love of fish was really interesting to see.
Yeah, Howie
What,
Mandel.
really?
Yeah, Howie Mandel's interesting because when I first got into fish, Shark Tank reached out to me. The show Shark Tank, which went under for whatever reason. I don't know the background.
Shark Tank?
Shark Tank. I'm sorry, not Shark
Oh,
Tank.
tanked.
Tanked.
Yes.
Straight up tanked. So Tank, they went under for whatever reason, some shady shit. But the people from Tanked would reach out to me. I'm like, oh, I'd love a tank like that. Like, I've always wanted a saltwater as a kid, and I can afford it. Let's do this. And then so many fans were like, no, don't, because I talked about it on the show. I'm like, I think Tank's gonna hook me up. Like, do not do it if you know anything about fish. So what they do, and I learned secondhand from Howie Mandel, he was on the show. And if you know about fish, it's so fucked up. So what they do, they might kill me for this, whatever. So when they do a celebrity's house, they go in, they build the tank, they put the water in. So just so people that don't know fish, you're looking at 4 to 6 weeks for even add one fish because the tank needs to cycle, make sure it's safe for the fish. But what they do, because for the show, and the fish will live about 2 to 3 days. Like Howie said, they built the tank, dumped all these crazy fish in them. Howie's like, this is amazing, man. But then when they leave, all those fish die. Yeah. So tons of fish are dying. You can't do that.
Yeah, because the
But
bacteria levels need to be, phosphate
nukes
levels are too high,
it nukes the
nitrate levels
tank.
too high.
Yeah. The nitrates, all the ammonia goes through the roof, all the fish die. So you can't do that. Like a proper fish tank takes 4 to 6 weeks to really get rolling.
I feel like we should have our own fish tank show.
Oh, I'm
here.
balls deep.
Jeez.
I love fish.
Me too.
And people are like, oh, what happened to fish? Not into me anymore. I'm like, no, I just think people are sick of hearing me talk about fish. Like, if you're not into fish, this is some balls deep thing. Like, my flower horn is like this now. It looks fucking dope. It has the biggest brain you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Dude, that thing is show quality. Like, I've looked into going to show qualities for flower horns. I was talking to my fish.
You are a nerd.
Oh, I'm a nerd when it comes to, like, Aquarium City, where I get all my fish from. He's like, how's that flower horn do? I'm like, let me show you, man. Let me go back.
Dude, I was ordering fish off of eBay.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah,
I had a
geez.
fish sent to me from Salt Lake City, dude. This cichlid, this African cichlid. That thing is nice looking. He's like, hey, and ship it tomorrow morning. Shows up, just dump in my tank. But the flower horn, I'm talking to the owner of Aquarium City. Shout out to them in off Ventura, Sherman Way. in the valley there. And I'm like, yeah, man, have you heard about these like flower horn competitions? He's like, yeah, why? I'm like, do you know when the next one is? He's like, you are not. I'm like, I'd be down, dude. Have you seen my flower horn? I showed him. He's like, that thing's show quality. I'm like, I think I could win, dude. I'm like, but you gotta like bring it and all. He's like, yeah, you gotta bring all your own shit. I'm like, I'd be interested in that. I'm like, give me more info. He's like, absolutely not. Yeah.
I will wrap this up with a question I asked everybody at the end of the
8 inches.
Yeah. Wow. That's it. There we go. Gratitude's such an important part of my life. I wake up every day. I say out loud 3 things I'm grateful for.
Oh, interesting. I
do it
never
before I go
do
to bed,
that.
too. Well,
I
here's
tell
your
you things
chance.
I'm frustrated at.
What are 3 things you're grateful for right now?
Oh,
It's a good exercise.
yeah, but yeah. I wish I thought more about it because the cookie cutter answer, like my wife, my kids, my brother. Today's my brother's birthday.
Hey, happy birthday.
Yeah, they're great, but that's like the cookie cutter answer. Man, you go. What are you grateful for?
Today,
let me see what
specifically?
level, so I don't sound like a dumbass.
Always grateful for my family, and that extends to my wife and my daughter.
That's easy though, right?
Of course,
Yep,
but like
that one's easy.
Health,
Another easy one though. I'm happy we're not sick too.
super. So these can be your answers.
You
And
think?
then- sure.
Okay.
You can go for weird things if
Every
you want.
day though.
I mean, health for sure every day.
Yeah, health is number. When you're sick, you're like, oh, take any money I have to make.
That's
me
right.
healthy.
I mean, the sick man has one problem.
The worst.
Right.
Nothing worse.
And I think I'm just grateful for opportunity. Like, I'm grateful that we live in a time right now where we can talk into these things and anybody around the world can be hearing us or watching us.
Well, we'll see how this goes. If it doesn't get demonetized.
Well, we'll
but
find
yeah,
out.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful that that this exists. I'm grateful that you're here and that we
Yeah.
can have a conversation that people care enough to listen and watch all the way to the end here.
Yeah. I'm happy for strawberry ice cream or some bullshit. Yeah. Happy for my freedom. It's like, yeah, I guess, dude.
Well, dude, thank you so much for coming by.
Of course, man.
This is great.
Glad this worked out. I appreciate you, brother. I'll see you in Orange County, man.
Come on down.
Give everybody
anytime.
your address. Tell them where you live.
I
Let
live
me know how
at
it goes for you.
2.
Yeah.
I ran into Michael Bisping in an LA Fitness.
Love Michael.
Actually, I ran into him at a movie premiere, and he's like, do you live around here? He's like, no, I said, I live in Orange County. I live in Orange County.
Yeah, he's out there.
Where do you live? I live in Anaheim Hills. I live in Anaheim Hills. I'm like, wait,
Have you had him on?
not yet.
He's a great guy.
We're working at that.
He's a
We're
great
working
guy.
on it. Then I
Great
ran
guy.
into him like a week later at the gym, and I'm like, hey,
You're like, I live here. He's
Yeah.
like, I know, dude. You
Yeah, I
already
know.
said that. We're
We
going to
got
see
it.
each other a lot. Be cool, man. But he'd be great for you.
But dude, thank you so much. I appreciate
course,
it. I
man.
appreciate that your
Anytime.
shoes also match your jersey. Look at that.
Yeah,
Wow.
man. What's up?
That's good.
All colors matter.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, brother. Appreciate it,
man.
man.